I can't lose when I'm with you. How can I snooze and miss a moment? You're just too important. I body to body like you do. I can't lose when I'm with you. I can't just snooze and miss the moment. You're just too important. Nobody.
Yo, Bash, you been tripping on them hoes.
Iron Live, y'all. Marijuanically keeping you connected. Hashtagging these red eyes, changing the viewers' eye red, keeping underage smoking off of social media, killing myself for your entertainment. Sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabisation. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to a brand new show. It's been a while since I went live because a lot of things that's been going on. And I wanted to come in here correctly before I just go live and just come up in here and just start talking about anything. You know, this is a 2-hour podcast where we do sit down and talk about things that are highly important, things that are going on in the world. Normally things that be going on in America, but the world has went to war, and we got two different wars going on. So everybody consider that World War II is breaking out, or World War III is breaking out. A lot of people are confused, scared. A lot of people putting their own opinions in to how they feel things should be looked, and obsessed. I have my opinions. I'm not gonna give my opinions on here. We're just gonna go over a couple of stories and talk about some things and break some things down. Now, if you feeling some type of way, you might not want to watch today, or put it in the comments of how you feel. I truly understand. I have nothing but respect for anybody that comes in here that has an opinion about something that is considered important. Yet again, keep underage smoking off social media is one of my brands and one of the things I do stand for. Truly. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into what I heard YouTube has been demonetizing us off of and taking us one, I'm actually going to go to a Trump trial case that's actually taking place and actually going down. So I think this is a good place for me to start and break some things down and talk about stuff where we get all into the war. You know what I'm saying? Let us get into this. Let's break this down. This is the civil case against Trump versus the people.
The facts and let you make the determination on how you feel about everything. So, the New York Attorney General's office is suing Donald Trump, his children, and the organization he runs for fraud. Now, this civil action revolves around legal action initiated by the people of the state of New York, represented by Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, against Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Alan Weisselberg.
Which old girl ran ads like she was running for office that this was going to happen. So can't nobody say that they didn't know this was going to happen.
Jeffrey McCooney, and several of Trump's businesses. Now, the Attorney General's office is looking into certain business practices that the defendants engaged in from 2011 through 2021. The Office of the Attorney General's office alleges that the Trump organization committed repeated and persistent fraud by preparing, certifying, and submitting to banks and insurance companies false and misleading financial statements. This was purportedly in violation of New York Executive Law 63, subsection 12. The Attorney General's office alleges that the Trump organization made false and misleading claims on financial statements, violated New York state penal law, inflated valuations of property owned by the Trump organization, and that the Trump organization intended to deceive banks and insurance agencies by making false statements on business records. So before we get started, we need to understand some terms. The first term we're going to understand is a statement of financial condition. This is a statement that shows a snapshot of a person's monetary situation at a specific instance in time. This shows things like how much they owe, how much money they have, how many houses they own, and other stuff worth value. And contrast that to what they owe, things like loans and debts. The difference between the two is called a person's net worth. So think about it as a quick summary of a person's financial health at a specific point in time. The higher your net worth, the more money you can borrow, and the lower interest rates you'll be charged. Now, it's important to understand the way properties are valued. In this particular context, it's by appraisers. The Trump organization used some of the world's best appraisers in its business practices. Cushman and Wakefield, the Oxford Group, Newark, Knight Frank are some of the names that you'll hear throughout the document. Next, we're going to talk about the discrepancies between what the Trump organization claimed were the values for different properties and what the appraisers certified they believed the values were. So now, you may have heard this a lot in the news, but the court has ruled that Trump and his businesses has committed fraud in the state of New York. And here are the facts that led them to that conclusion. Now, the court relied on differences between the statement of financial condition prepared by the Trump organization and the appraisal certified by third parties. So here are some of the discrepancies that the court pointed to between the statement of financial condition and third-party appraisals. Now, let's talk about Trump Tower and the Trump Triplex. Now, Donald Trump has an apartment in Trump Tower, and that apartment is about 11,000 square feet. But the Trump organization claimed that it was about 30,000 square feet in its statement of financial condition. So that's about a 200% discrepancy between what it actually was and what they claimed it was in their financial documents. Now, since properties in New York are based on square footage, this led to the property being overvalued by about $114 to $207 million. Now, the defendant's reason for the discrepancy in square footage is that
My bad. Welcome everybody. Welcome that came. I understand why people are sitting up here looking at these matters and be like, you know what? I'm not really about this. I'm not for this. This is a pothead channel. I know we're supposed to be coming up here smoking and chilling and having a good time, but I do want to come smoke, chill, learn, see what's going on in the news, look at it factually, not through our opinions, not through our feelings, because our feelings get beside ourselves, but I want to look at it factually and what's truly going on. And this is the newest thing that popped up, the trial case over Trump, and we just discussing it.
They say the calculation for square footage is subjective and can vary by as much as triple the amount. So if you have a 2,000 foot square home, you could claim it was 6,000 square feet. It all depends on how you're looking at the property. Now, the judge rejected that argument, saying that measurements can vary between 10 and 20%, which is common, but not triple the amount of space. And that discrepancy would be considered fraud with someone who is in the business of real estate, because Donald Trump and the Trump Organization are real estate developers. Now, the next property the court looked at was Seven Springs Estate. Now, this was first appraised by the Royal Bank of Pennsylvania in the year 2000 at $25 million. Then it was appraised at $30 million in 2006. Then the appraisal firm Cushman and Wakefield came in and appraised the property in 2014 at $30 million. And then in 2016,
so basically, people that come in and give out estimates, how much they assume or they accumulate for your property to be worth. Now, the state of New York is saying that Trump lied on his assessment, that he's trying to get more than what he's owed. Who don't try to do that? See, it's like, I don't think people really are grasping the understanding that you're getting in trouble for doing capitalism. This is America. We are built off of capitalism. We try our best to capitalize on everything we do. If we bought something for 50 cents, yes, we're going to probably sell it for $1.50 to try to make a profit. And that's how you make a profit. That's capitalism. When you got property that you bought back in the 80s and the 90s, if you look at that property now, the property value has changed. It has went up. And that's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking for, and that's what they're trying to sue him for right now. Just to speed y'all up.
Again at $56 million. Now, the Trump Organization, in their statement of financial condition, reported the value of the property at $261 million in 2011 and $291 million in 2012 to 2014. Now, the judge found that even giving the benefit of the doubt that the property was worth $56 million, that still means the Trump Organization inflated the value of that property by over 400%. Now, the judge ruled that in light of having the appraiser and using the higher value, the $56 million, value the property at $56 million, but yet on their statement of financial condition, overvalue the property at $291 million, this 400% increase was indicative of fraud. The judge then looked at Trump Park Avenue, where the valuation of unsold residential condominium units at Trump Plaza seemed to be overvalued by a huge amount. Now, the Oxford Group valued 12 rent-stabilized units at $750,000 in 2010. Now, that's because the rental value was capped by New York state law. You could only rent those properties at a particular rate. Now, the reason for this is because you get a tax deduction for apartments that are rent stabilized, but you don't get that same tax deduction for apartments that are not rent stabilized. Now, in that building, there were 6 other units that were not rent stabilized, and the Newark Knight Frank Company evaluated those units at $22.8 million in 2020 because obviously they weren't under the same restrictions as the rent stabilized units, and since they weren't capped by law.
This is why I went out and got this video, breaking it down so y'all truly understand. Now, each state has their difference in breaking down units and what units are valued. Everybody knows that New York is one of the highest rated areas, where back in the days things was 100,000 to 1 million, to where stuff is like you see now, 22 million and up. So you can just imagine when our kids get old in their 30s that this stuff is going to be close to 100 mil, property value. Should it go up like that? Should we be putting values and stock into our buildings like that? Probably not. Not if you're not getting the straight feedback that you want. I'm not here to say. I'm not here to be wrong or right. I'm just here to put my opinion in. I don't know. But in the capitalistic world, if you want to go there, you would be like, yeah, this needs to go down because this is how it should be. Because when you're trying to capitalize your property, you putting in new walling, new ceilings, new everything. It looks good. And then when you, as you just read right here, you put in renters insurance and you put somebody in the building to rent, the property goes up. We did not know. Now I know black people are like, man, it's not like that in a red district. Well, in a red district area, which is so-called the ghetto, you don't have people, and you do now. You do have people that's getting back into these homes, that's up building it, that's up valuing it, and then you're like, okay, so what is the proper value of upping it? How do you up the value? Well, not only do you clean up the property, but you got to clean up the neighborhood too. You can't have a good, pricey looking home in a neighborhood where nobody's scared to come visit you or even come stay and live. That happens too. And a lot of black people don't look at that financially and put that into the mind. They be like, man, I built this home up. I should get the money for it. But then nobody wants to stay there. And then you got the most ghettoest person staying there, that boyfriend still selling drugs, and that's crazy that a lot of people still want these drug dealing ass boyfriend. Oh, my boyfriend sell dope. What? It's 2023. Like, start businesses and stuff like that, and let's move forward. I can't believe I'm at a time to where I work hard. I try to keep a job. I try to do the right thing. I'm not perfect, but I try to do the right thing, and I'm still secondary to the trap knowledge of my skin color.
Sky's the limit, or how much you can sell these units for. Now, in the Trump Organization's statement of financial condition, they inflated the value of the 12 rent stabilized units by 700%. And their reasoning was that the units could potentially be converted into units that were not capped by law. So, because they could be valued at this higher amount, even though they're not valued at this higher amount now, they should be appraised at the higher amount. Now, the judge found that the statement of financial condition is a document that states the current value of objects, not future values. And the units were falsely inflated because they were only worth the lower amount now, and maybe 20 years in the future, they could be worth more, but they're not worth that now. So next, the court turned its attention to 40 Wall Street and the difference between the appraised value and the values listed on the statement of financial condition. For instance, the appraisal firm Cashman and Wakefield appraised the property at $200 million in 2011. But the Trump Organization, in its statement of financial condition, valued the property during that year at $524 million. The same thing happened in 2012, where the appraisal firm valued it at $220 million, while the Trump Organization, in the statement of financial condition, valued it at $527 million. And then lastly, in 2015, the appraisers valued the property at $540 million, while the Trump Organization valued it at $735 million. Now, the defendant's reasoning for the overvaluations were that they were immaterial because the lender who loaned money to the property based on those values were paid back in full and made money off the deal. But the judge said that the only requirement for liability here is that there were false statements on the statement of financial condition, and those statements were misleading and were used to conduct business. Now, the court then turned to Mar-a-Lago. Now, the deeds to the property at Mar-a-Lago only allowed it to be used as a social club. That limited its value tremendously. Now, the property was taxed.
Now, this is where the lawsuit come in play. You just learn how they tax buildings, how you praise buildings. So, for an example, you get a building for $10,000, you hook it up. You're gonna tell the people that you want probably close to $1 million. And then appraiser come by, he like, you know what, it's only worth $300,000. And you like, well, I appraised it at 700 and something like that. 700,000. He's still
at
trying to
this
get to
lower
that
value
million.
because you couldn't use it as a home. You could only use it as a social club. So the good people in Palm Beach County appraised the value of Mar-a-Lago at $18 million and as much as $27 million. Now, this was specifically because of that restriction. You couldn't use it as a home. Now, the Trump Organization, in its statement of financial condition, valued the property at $400 million, as high as $600 million. Now, their reasoning is that they, at one point in the future, would be able to breach their obligations under the contract they have with the state and convert the property to a home. Now, the judge in New York didn't buy this argument. The judge essentially said that the legal agreements in place at the time of evaluation must be used to obtain the true value of the property at that moment. Using the legal agreement that binds a property to benefit you with lower taxes, as they were doing in Florida, then on the backside, you would ignore the agreement to inflate the value to get a loan. That was quintessential fraud. Now, the judge ultimately ruled that because of the documentary evidence that showed the extreme differences between the certified appraisals values and the Trump Organization.
First thing he did in fraud is overvalue his property for something that his property wasn't set up for. Okay.
Values over multiple years, this could only be fraud. Acceptable differences in values could range in the values of 10 to 20%, but these discrepancies were as much as 2,000% in some cases. The judge ruled that this was clearly fraud that benefited the defendant. Now, what was the motive for all this? Well, the judge said the motive of fraud was to benefit the Trump Organization financially and strategically in his business dealings. The ruling suggests that Donald Trump and his company lied to the government, banks, and insurers by both overvaluing some property and undervaluing assets when it was advantageous for them. For instance, by exaggerating their net worth and certain value of assets, Trump and the Trump Organization was able to secure favorable loan terms and lower insurance premiums, making both the bank and insurance companies the victims of the fraud. And on the opposite end, by lowering the value of some properties, they would have to pay lower taxes, for instance, like what happened in Palm Beach, Florida. Now, there are some facts that you do need to know. First, no bank ever complained about any of the loans. And another fact is all the loans were paid back in full. Another fact is that no insurance company ever complained about the rates that it charged or filed any complaints or actions with the Attorney General's office. Also, I think it's important to note that defendants argue that Trump being president also inflated the values of these properties. For example, Mar-a-Lago is listed for sale at $100 million now, but it's only being appraised at $27.6 million. And as you can see from this article, most real estate agents in that market would actually list the property for $300 million, even with the current restrictions in place. So why are we in court? Well, since the court found that Trump is actually liable for fraud, now the second part of the trial begins. Think about it this way. When you're in a criminal trial, first the jury finds you guilty or not guilty. If the jury finds you guilty, then the court sentences you to a prison term. That's essentially what we're doing here in the civil trial. This is essentially a sentencing hearing. Now the court's going to determine how much money, if any, the Trump Organization will have to pay and what penalties they'll owe to the state.
Crazy that y'all want to go this far just to prove a point.
Important developments inside Donald Trump's civil fraud.
Okay, so y'all heard the facts, y'all heard the story, y'all broke it down. Let's really break it down and think about it. Basically, we're suing a guy for his hustling skills. Because he's a hustler, because he found a way into the real estate game and took over. That's just like me finding a way into this podcast industry, doing it the way that I want to do it, bringing marijuana and the news together, actually talking about news and discussing things way deeper than I think any other channel discusses things out there on in a podcast area. I feel like I discuss things a little bit deeper and go into details and actually say things that some people can't say. Mostly some people out there are scripted when it comes down to what they want to say. I am not scripted at all. I smoke weed. I keep it real. I talk about only things that I can only get facts on. I make sure that things that I look up are not opinionated. I don't look for opinions because opinions is not going to get us nowhere. People ask me rarely, but people do ask, like, what do you do this for? At first, like I said, I did this stuff for fun. It was just because I just wanted to, I don't know, start a podcast and talk about things that I thought was cool, especially in the marijuana. I thought marijuana stories had a bunch of stories to tell, and there are a bunch of stories to tell in the marijuana life. But then I started to see that more and more that states got legal, like the marijuana thing just trickled away and people was just growing, and that's all you would hear about. I'm like, okay, so yeah, I know this is going on, this and this and this and that, and a lot of things were going on. I'm like, so nobody's talking about what be going on in the news, and then you do got people like Ben that do talk about things and go over things like that, and I appreciate him doing stuff like that because I'm just seeing, I'm looking for myself and just saying to myself, there's not a lot of marijuana people that talk about things that go on out here that's real. So I was like, hell, let me go out here, find some things that's really going on, talk about it, even break down some news, facts, you know what I'm saying? We talk about, we can even smoke to it. Because if we can smoke to everything else, why can't we smoke to actual real news and trials? And I feel like this stuff to me is very important. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people don't, but if you don't feel like it's important, at least you got to see it, and then, you know, it's got to be something, and there you go.
Trial. The judge just made clear what can and cannot be discussed and what has already been determined. Namely, this judge made clear that he's already ruled that Trump committed fraud, and he's sort of done listening to arguments about that.
Now, what are the possible outcomes? Well, if Trump loses this trial, he could have to pay up to $250 million in cash to the government, and that would mean he'd have to sell off a lot of his prized possessions like Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago. He will also not be allowed to conduct business in New York ever again, and neither will his children. It's also important that there are no victims complaining about being defrauded. Everyone was paid back. This is the state coming after Trump because of paperwork and the evaluations being exaggerated. And there are also some other concerns about the New York Attorney General, who essentially ran on a platform that I will get Trump. This is what she said in 2018 when she was running for Attorney General in a video titled Why Letitia James Wants to Take on Trump as New York Attorney General.
At a time when Congress, particularly Republicans, do not have a backbone, it's important that Democrats put some steel in their backbone and fight back. I believe that this president is incompetent. I believe that this president is ill-equipped to serve in the highest office of this land. And I believe that he is an embarrassment to all that we stand for. He should be charged with obstructing justice. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses. And we would join with law enforcement and other attorneys general across this nation in removing this president from office. In addition to that, the office of Attorney General will continue to follow the money because we believe that he's engaged in a pattern and practice of money laundering the money from foreign governments here in New York State, and particularly related to his real estate holdings. It's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end, but we can only do it if all of you exercise the most fundamental right, a right which is basic to democracy, and that is the right to vote.
So a vote for Letitia James is a vote to get Trump. So no matter what you think about the evidence, you should be concerned about politicians campaigning on investigating their political opponents. But that's not the world we live in. You now have the facts. What to do with them is your choice. My name is Nate the Lawyer. If you like this video,
It's crazy that all I be looking for is the facts. Smoke weed, facts. What's up? What's popping? What's telling the truth? You know. It's another story I forgot to put in the description because I've been seeing the titles. I haven't really got into it, but I've been seeing the titles, and I want to talk about it. Joe Biden is live right now. I gotta go to this, unfortunately.
We're going to do everything in our power to make sure yours will succeed and, God willing, to bring home those Americans who are in harm's way. I'm going to let you all have the private conversation you've been having, which you should continue to have. But I just came to basically, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I give you my word as a Biden. Thank you. Thank you for the intensity of your support. It matters. It matters that Americans see what's happening. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway, but there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway.
Mr. President, where do you draw strength in this region to be
From my
What
faith.
a save.
My faith.
What a save.
At the core of every human being is a spark of humanity and decency.
Opening the door. Y'all see
gotta be
this?
touched.
Y'all see that
It's
he's
got to be spoken.
losing it.
That's what you do.
They're trying to
That's why
help
you're
him
here.
leave.
It's not about, revenge. It's about
Oh, yes. Y'all know we finna rewind and
Decency.
dissect this.
just
We finna
basic
dissect
decency.
this.
Basic decency. Treating people with a sense of, I don't know quite how to say it.
This is after he read his speech,
But I know
ladies
we
and
can
gentlemen.
overcome this. I know we can overcome this. Look, I don't know anything about the kind of loss it's talking about, but I know a little bit like to feel loss. Lose people you adore. Get a phone call saying they're gone. I get that part. Not the same, but I get the part. And what I've learned is
This is beautiful.
that as we persevere, we can grow. And the day will come.
Shut the door. Shut the door in the back. He's not
that
done.
person or those persons bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. It will happen.
Yes, people tweeted about that door opening. I know they tweeted about the
when it's
door
born out
opening.
of something
I
that
know they
was
tweeted it.
Anything from a mistake.
Did you see they opened the door? They're trying to help him
vicious
exit.
intent. It varies in degrees. I'm not saying I know the same. But I just, look, I mean,
Is this hard for the Democrats to watch? Which I know the black people are not watching this at all. They don't even know what's going on. They don't even know what's going on.
anyway, I just think that
3 times
if we stay true
he
to
went
our
off
values,
script.
pursue with
Subject.
every inch and every bit of our
Just trying
energy,
to relate to the
at this
people.
rate, we can bury this again and bring people back.
That's all he's trying to
Go
do
home and
is
bring
relate
together.
to
I
the
think we
people.
can- I think we can change.
If he gets what he's going to say.
But
No
then again,
offense,
I have
but this is the president of the United States of America. He's running for
And I'm
re-election.
not gonna
He
answer
has
the
a
questions from
year
you guys
to do
right now,
this.
but my team here knows when the press is gone, they'll talk more directly to you. But even then, they're not going to be able to tell you all that we're doing and all that's going on. So,
We say thank you. 80 years ago this week,
Opening the door again.
400 rabbis.
Come on, y'all. Nobody's seeing
Franklin
this.
Delano Roosevelt. and
Do I gotta tweet it out?
To act to rescue the Jews who were being persecuted.
I gotta tweet it out,
They
huh?
were refused a meeting with President Roosevelt. They were refused entry to the White House. And the fact that we are here today, and you have spoken as the President of the United States so clearly in support of Israel, so clearly in support of the Jewish people, and welcome leaders and representatives of the Jewish community into the White House for this discussion, shows what a dramatic distance we travel in these United States, how we as the Jewish community are blessed to live today in these United States, and we thank you for your leadership and your moral clarity.
Look at that. Somebody had to give him a speech. So he could understand that it was time to go because he was doing too much.
You see lots of Jewish
Ooh.
leaders there speaking.
Nah. We need to go back and dissect this like it's supposed to be done. Where right before he probably came out here, ain't no telling what we missed.
Some of the broad
So let's go back.
planning
We finna go back.
that Hamas would
Stop
do. But we
playing.
haven't seen anything that
I know y'all didn't see it. I know y'all didn't watch it.
date, time, method, that they were witting to this. We haven't seen anything that tells us they specifically cut checks to support this set of attacks, or that they were involved in the training. And obviously, this required quite a bit of training by these terrorists, or that they were involved in any directing of the operation. So again, I'll get to your. I promise I don't want. I'm not trying to, monopolize the time here, but we're. It's not a. We're not
That
done here either. We're gonna
reporter,
continue to look at the
whoever he
intelligence
is,
and see if it
saved
leads us
the
to a different
president.
conclusion. All I can do is be
Now
honest
this
with
is
you.
a little bit
Conclusions
forward
are coming
before the
to
president
today.
came
We
up.
just haven't seen that.
You kind of answered my follow-up, which is,
good.
is it the position of the administration that at
This is
stage
before the
Iran was
president
not
came up. I'm
Authorities
trying
and
to scoot up a little bit
appropriations to
forward,
support,
just to find when the
Israel
president
near
did
term.
come up there
And I got
and
asked
give out
last
his
time, what
speech.
does near term mean?
This
What's a bit mean?
right here
I can't give you
is
a
just
certain on camera
amazing.
because a lot of it's going to depend on their expenditure rate and what the replenishment ability
So
is,
everybody
what the
be
need is,
probably
and what
be
our ability to do it
tweeting
is.
and try to be the first
But in the near
tweet.
term,
I'm
we've
saying
got
it first.
appropriations and
I'm
authorities
putting it
to
out
vote.
there. I'm not
Bring
trying to
on
be
board Israel.
on no bragging stuff or nothing like that.
You don't want
I
to be
just
trying to
witnessed coming in,
long-term
doing a
support
podcast, seeing
when
the
you're at
president
the
give
end
out his
of the
speech.
rope. And,
He was
in Ukraine,
fading off,
Ukraine funding,
going
we're
somewhere.
near to the end of the rope. I mean, today we announced $200
No
million.
telling where he was finna go. He was finna go speechless, and then you hear a question come out of nowhere that snaps him back into reality. Like, okay, where am I? Is that finally showing that our president isn't ready to finish his terms? Huh? I'm just asking. Because my God, we got it. We got our own little evidence, our own little dissection of what happened.
Roundtable event. This is happening right now.
Visceral connection to Israel and its people.
Okay.
We witnessed.
So, we got the speech. I'm about hearing it in full. I just seen, like I said, what I seen at the end before I continue and keep going and break this down for people, for YouTube and whoever's watching, whatever. I'm on some whatever right now. You know what I'm saying? Only reason I don't be tripping off what I be putting for the simple fact that I barely got people watching. I got more people watching on Facebook than I do on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I do promote myself on YouTube. I kind of understand what I need to do is sit here and see my little highest points and make little small clips and then probably tag some people in and be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? And they probably won't watch it or look at it and be like, oh, look at this silly person out here talking this nonsense. It is what it is. But to see the videos that a lot of people have been putting out, I've been putting out to show the president be forgetting office rockers falling and all this. We finally got one ourselves and we got to see it live. I got to see it live. Y'all got to see it live with me. I called it out just as much as y'all called it. You know what I'm saying? As you see me called it out and I did it live. So nobody can say that I be up here fronting or taking other people's videos and then taking their points and using it as my points just to try to make some type of point at it. I use other people's points because sometimes it's better put than me before I just say something that normally would get you canceled on YouTube because yet again you're taking away freedom of speech. So yet again I want to say, who was that reporter that saved the president? Another thing. This right here is the beginning of the speech. Like I said, I want to see.
It's a mass murder of innocent civilians. It was a terrorist assault. There is never any justification for terrorism. There are no two sides to this issue. The images that we saw will be seared in our brains forever. Rockets falling on cities.
I can't wait to see other people talk about this live. This speech he gave and then how he kept going on. And I want to see if anybody picks up the part where he drips off and the reporter picks up. If nobody don't, I promise you, I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do. And y'all be talking about getting my catchy points. I'm gonna have to come back and hit him up, because that is where it's going down at. That's where it's going down.
People dragged from their homes and shot dead. Children sheltering from bullets. Bodies lining the streets. And all the while, we see videos of these terrorists cheering on these atrocities.
Nah, we don't want to hear you
Israel
speak.
and the Jewish community is hard to imagine, but we can imagine it because it's happening. And I know many of you have sent texts and calls this weekend checking on loved ones. And I know too many of you received
a number of Israeli leaders, a number of leaders around the world, leaders in the region as well. And, among those who have been victimized, this evil, who've been killed, are at least 22 American citizens. This attack was a campaign of pure cruelty, not just hate, but pure cruelty against the Jewish people. And I would argue it's the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. The deadliest day since the Holocaust. One of the worst chapters in human history that remind us all that expression I learned from my dad early on: silence is complicity. Silence is complicity. It really is. And I want you to know, I think you've already figured it out, I refuse to be silent, and I know you refuse to be silent as well. I know you're here with my senior staff. You all represent a voice that America has to hear. America can't be silent. We not only reject terrorism, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond rejecting terrorism. I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu for I don't know how many times, but this morning. And already we're surging additional military assistance to the Israeli Defense Force, including ammunition, interceptors to replenish the Iron Dome, and we've moved the U.S. carrier fleet to the Eastern Mediterranean, and we're sending more fighter jets there in that region, and made it clear to the Iranians, be careful. We want to make it real clear. We're working on every aspect of the hostage crisis in Israel, including deploying experts to advise and assist with recovery efforts. Now, the press is going to shout to me, and many of you are, that, what are you doing to get these folks home? If I told you, I wouldn't be able to get them home. Folks, there's a lot we're doing. A lot we're doing. I have not given up hope of bringing these folks home. But the idea that I'm going to stand here before you and tell you what I'm doing is bizarre. So I hope you understand how bizarre I think it would be to try to answer that question. In the days ahead, we're going to continue to work closely with our partners in Israel and around the world to ensure Israel has what it needs to defend its citizens, its cities, and to respond to these attacks. As I said yesterday, my commitment to Israel's security and the safety of the Jewish people is unshakable. The United States has Israel's back, and I have yours as well, both at home and abroad. You can see the pain in some of your faces. I walked into this room. You okay, kiddo? Well, your fear for family, friends, back.
That was written beautiful. That was written beautiful. Beautiful.
In Israel, you worry about kids being targeted in school, about going about their daily lives. You're hurt by the downplaying of Hamas's atrocities and blaming Israel. This is unconscionable. And I've asked members of my team, including Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas and Attorney General Garland, to work intensively with our Jewish community partners so many of you here to set up security around Jewish life in America, identify, prevent, and disrupt emerging threats that occur. You know, we're also going to continue to condemn and combat anti-Semitism at every single turn, at every turn. You know, the past few days have been a solemn reminder that hate never goes away. Hold on a second, I used to think you could defeat hate, that you could make it, all it does is go underground. It just goes underground, it doesn't go away. It only hides until it's given a little oxygen, a little bit of oxygen. And that's why I've secured the largest ever increase in funding for physical security for nonprofits, including synagogues, Jewish community centers, Jewish day schools. And in May, we released the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism with the input from many of you in this room. Many of you in this room helped write that. It's the most ambitious, comprehensive effort to combat anti-Semitism in American history, in all of American history. And we're aggressively implementing it. But we must all do our part and forcefully speak out against anti-Semitism and push back against the attempts to deny or distort the facts. To make clear, there is no place for hate in America. Not against Jews, not against Muslims, not against anybody. And we mourn the act you and so many leaders have across the country.
This is why I jokingly said that I don't think it's a good idea that you be out here protesting and marching in the streets for stuff that goes on like that. For the simple fact that people out here just gonna get a little ignorant. That's all I was speaking on. I hope I didn't hurt nobody's feelings at my job when I said that. But the ignorance that people are going to do when they start protesting out here for no apparent reason, because they feel like the Jews are under attack, which is true, and it's Iran, and however people feel is how they feel. But the protesting here in America over it is where I'll be like, it's going to get just a tad bit out of hand or go a little bit too far.
Showing us what thousands of years of Jewish history has shown us. The enduring strength, and I mean this sincerely, the enduring strength and spirit of the Jewish community. If you excuse a point of personal privilege, you should say in the Senate. That's why I took my kids, everyone when they turned 14 years old, one at a time, put them on a plane and took them to Dachau. I wanted them to see that you could not know what was going on walking through those gates. You could not fail to understand as a country what was going on. And that's a fact. It had a profound impact on my children and my grandchildren. Some thought taking a 14-year-old grandchild was not a mistake, but I took them one at a time. I got 3 more to go. And folks, it's important. You know, the miracle of Israel is Israel. It's Israel itself. The hope it inspires. The light it represents to the world. And folks, I was asked in one of my very frank conversations with Bibi and with Herzog, so why do I feel so deeply about this? It's not about the region. I truly believe, were there no Israel, no Jew in the world would be ultimately safe. It's the only ultimate guarantee. The only ultimate guarantee. The only ultimate guarantee. And folks, because of you, and I mean this sincerely, because you're speaking up, because of the intensity and the intellect and the brilliance you bring to this cause, I think we have a chance to end this in a way that is, it makes it very difficult for it to be repeated. I want to thank you for your leadership. And as I said, there's a lot to talk about, and but I'm really, quite frankly, concerned as to, it's hard to talk about this without detail. And it's contrary to our interests to let out the detail of what we're going on. I mean, this is just round the clock, as you understand. You fully understand. But, you know, I've known Bibi for over 40 years. In a very frank relationship. I know him well. And the one thing that I did say, that it is really important that Israel, with all the anger, frustration, and just, I don't know how to explain it, that exists.
This is the part where I'm saying it's like
by the rules
you're
of
going
war.
off script. It's hard for him to. I'm not saying comprehend what's going on, but it's like the struggle is real. The struggle is real. Listening to
Rules
this.
of war, and there are rules of war, and I believe Israel is doing everything in its power to pull the country together, stay on the same page, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure Israel succeed, and God willing, to bring home those Americans who are in harm's way. I'm going to let you all have the private conversation you've been having. which you
This
should
is
continue
where
to
it
have,
gets,
But
ladies and gentlemen, who in here, not in here, when you come in here, this is where it's finna get interesting. Right here.
it just came to basically, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I give you my word as a Biden. Thank you. Thank you for the intensity of your support. It matters. It matters that Americans see what's happening. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never.
You see the pushback, man. I know people gotta be eating this up. Okay, you did the fadeaway because you thought it was over. It's going down right here, y'all. It's going down right here. Let me get me a good spot. I want to be good up in this camera view. That did. I just want to. I'm gonna go right to the part where the guy pauses. Okay. Ooh, yeah.
There are.
You see, this is the first where.
I never thought I'd ever. Anyway, but there are.
He's finna start telling us
countries
stories,
in the region that are trying to be of some help.
and then these stories is
including
finna
Arab
fade
nations,
into
trying to be
almost
of some help.
nothingness.
So, anyway.
See, 2. Bam, right here. Who was that? Who interrupted him? Who told somebody to come on, man? Yeah, y'all seen it. This is what people been waiting to see. People been waiting to see this. Now they finally got one piece of evidence at the wrong time. It's a war going on, and you are spacing out. Is our country in trouble? I'm just pointing out the realest. I'm just seeing it for myself. It shocked me when I seen it. I'm gonna play it over again so you people can understand, like, the story wasn't going nowhere. He faded into nothing.
I never thought I'd ever. Anyway, but there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway. No.
Right? The pause. They got him. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is round one. They're gonna have to get these speeches shorter. Just my opinion. Now I'm getting into opinions, but with proof. They're gonna have to shorten up these speeches. There's no way that he was probably finna be stuck without that questioning coming out of nowhere. This is a live press conference. We'll go over it one more time so you can see it for yourself.
It matters. It matters that Americans see what's happening.
It matters that America sees what's happening. See that our president is live talking about a war that's going on in another country and spaces out and have first signs of dementia. But the world is going through a recession and money's so high and gas is so high and everything's so high and we trying to find a penny just to make $1 that nobody cares about this. Nobody's saying this. Nobody gives a damn. They just don't care. Literally don't care. You ask a person, hey man, did you see that press conference that he get? I don't care. I don't care at all. And that's sad. That's sad because this right here
I've been doing this a long time.
is what he's getting away with.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway, but there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway.
Mr. President, where do you draw strength and inspiration in these troubling times?
From my faith. From my faith. My faith that
You see how he looked
the
up?
core of every human being is
And then the door opens. And then the door opens. Ladies and gentlemen, the door magically opens. Like we got to get him off stage. He done slipped. They already done tweeted about it. Yes, we did. I should have hashtag Joe Biden in it. That's one thing I didn't do. I forgot to do. It's over. Y'all done slipped. How is y'all gonna clean this up to us conservative, Republican, and those megas? Those good old megas. Man, I'm just saying, it's
a spark of humanity and decency. It's got to be touched. It's got to be spoken to. That's what you do. That's why you're here. It's not about, revenge. It's about decency. Just basically decent. Just basic decency. Treating people with a sense of, I don't know quite how to say it.
treat people with decency. Decency. I don't quite know how to say it. Respect. Honor. Don't go just blowing up and decapitating kids. But see, not to get deep off into this and to say anything negative or wrong, because I'm not in either or, but it does remind me of a podcast that came out that people was discussing things that go on, and I was like, wow, these things go on and these things do happen. These things do matter. these things do take place when you hear about them. And people shy away from hearing about things that truly matter and that understand things. And they be like, maybe if you seen it through their eyes. And then when you hear the stories, now I'm hearing the stories. Thanks to these podcasts, you're hearing the stories that go on out here in the world. You're understanding that tragedy, poor, bad water, sickness, not getting a lot. What we have over here is we truly should be blessed in America for having. It's easy for us to fight back over here in America for the things that we truly do like and love. I'm just being honest. It really is. All we have to do is go out here and vote. If you truly doesn't like something, we as 50 states have to go out there and vote. Hey, we don't like this. This needs to change. And it would change. There's no way the government like, hey, everybody across the board voted on this one thing. We're not going to change it. No. Because we, the people, can make a difference. I hate to hear people say this all the time that, no, man, my one little vote don't make a difference. You can be the start. Nobody in my community seems like they want to be the start. They all want to be the victim. Hey, man, we've been playing the victim role for how many years? We still going to play the victim roles until we get our check. Okay, cool. You got one half playing the victim role, and then you got the other half that's like, you know what, I'm just going to make my money and forget what else going on. But there's a lot of things that are going on. This right here is going on. We have a president that's getting caught up,
But I know we can
slipping.
overcome this.
We have other countries that are poor that's trying to come out of poverty. We have other countries that are trying to make bricks come true, meaning making another currency be better than America's.
Get a phone call saying they're gone. I get that part. Not the same, but I get the part. And what I've learned is that as we persevere, we can grow. And the day will come
You see, they
when
shut
the memory
the door.
of that person or those
Like,
persons
oops.
bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye.
Question: do the person that opened that door? I want to see fired. Like, who told you? Who told you to open the door? Who told you to open the door to make it look like the president? That was a weak move. You know, they got the president under a microscope. It's election year. It's literally a year. It's election year. He's under a microscope. And you just gonna show that he couldn't do it?
It will happen. It will happen. But God, it takes a long time sometimes. And when it's born out of something that has been anything from a mistake to a vicious, vicious intent, you know, it varies in degrees. I'm not saying I know the same. But I just, look, I mean, I'll never forget, well, I won't go into that. Anyway, I just think that if we stay true to our values, pursue with every inch and every bit of our energy to get this right, we can bury this again and bring people back, and bring people home and bring it together. I think we can change the Middle East. But then again, I have been referred to as a congenital optimist. And I'm not going to answer any questions from you guys right now, but my team here knows that when the press is gone, they'll talk more directly to you. But even then, they're not going to be able to tell you all.
Y'all hearing it. I ain't even got the headphones on because I done already heard this part. This is the part where it just shocks me.
All that we're doing and all that's going on. So,
Question, sir. May we please say thank you. 80 years ago this week, 80 years ago this week.
Now somebody else is giving him a speech for his exit. I'm not going to go into the speech because we already heard it. That's crazy. If they not talking about this and blowing this up, matter of fact, I'm going to cut this off right here at this point just because of how the video was made and what just took place. So, this is another Burn Loud show. I highly appreciate people stopping by and chilling. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good night. Peace.